Hello, everyone. This is Ross, the cat Dreambeam. I'm just kidding. Hello, everyone. This is Ross from Retro Dreambeam. I'm an eBay seller full time. I've been doing this with my fiance Netta for a couple years now. I think it's been like 3 years, a little bit more. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm about to go into what we are shipping out today on Friday, but the post office was closed yesterday, so there's some items I already recorded a video for a couple days ago. My week has been totally thrown off. Had some really good sales. There was like a slow day. I think yesterday was slow, but then we woke up into a bunch of this stuff where if you look at your like sales graphic, there's a lot of this stuff counted for today. But yeah, it's been good overall. There's some really cool stuff, and I'll get into it. All right, so the first thing is the Star Wars Armada. This is going to be a Fantasy Flight Games like miniature game that they don't have anymore. I don't think they have it anymore. So yeah, they definitely canceled it, I think. So Star Wars Armada is going to be a bunch of Star Wars ships, but they're like on a really small scale. So you're supposed to be having these like 50 fleets versus 50 other fleets instead of like the small dogfights, which is going to be the X-Wing game. This is the one where you're supposed to have like big ships and have big attacks and stuff. So these dice, usually these starter sets give you just enough to play the game, but it's kind of annoying because imagine if one of your characters needs to roll 4 black dice. They'll always have like special dice. These aren't like dice you can just pick up from like a board game, like a basic one, like a Monopoly or something. You have to actually have these symbols. So these ones are going to be like, they'll give you 3 black dice, but once in a while, one of your ships will have an upgrade where you get to roll 4. So you could re-roll one of these black ones and just memorize and add it, or you can go ahead and get another pack. They sell them as their own packs as well. This sold for $9 plus shipping. Everything's going to be plus shipping. All right, next up, a lot of stuff I listed in the past few days, so I want to talk about that at the end. This is Game Designers Workshop Drang Nacht Austin. So I'm not really sure too much about this. I don't think I saw too many out there of this listed. This is incomplete. So it's like a folder. It opens up. There's supposed to be rules for, I believe, a board game. I don't know if this is supposed to have a box or not, or if it was just like this folder. So yeah, I saw that this was kind of rare. So I listed this for, I think, like 75. Someone offered $50 for it. Like I said, there's some like sheets, tables, and charts for like this board game. The rule book was missing for this one. But yeah, like I said, it's like a folder. Haven't seen this before. I've seen the Game Designers Workshop stuff before. This sold for $50. So that was an interesting one. There was like another one I got that was more expensive that I already listed. So I just listed that. All right, then there was a combo order. These are going to be for the chit tokens for like a Panzer game. That was for Panzer Blitz and then Panzer Leader. So right here is going to be the Panzer Leader. This is 386 tokens for them. I wrote that as a note for myself, and when the customer gets it, I actually laid them all out so the person could see everything they are getting. I don't know if this is complete or not. That's why I wrote the number. That's why I wrote the pictures and description. I go like, I don't know if this was the full game. Sometimes these games on the back of the box, they'll say like, oh, there's 350 plus tokens. So they don't always tell you exact number. You can always go into like forums and you got to find someone that like, there is always a person that knows, but sometimes it's hard to dig for. So yeah, I sold them this pack of the Panzer Leader. Then they got this, which I listed yesterday. I'm going to be really careful with it because it's still like unpunched, but there is like one line that's like kind of coming loose. These are Panzer Blitz, like an update little packet of chits and tokens. I think no one else had this one listed. There's a lot of these updates. Think of like how video games will get like a patch update. This is kind of like you swap in pieces. Maybe they made an error. Maybe something was too strong or too weak, and then people complain. And then this also keeps your game fresh. If you play the game, like the base game, a bunch, and then you get an update pack, it's like, oh, cool. Like, let's see how all the strategies change. So yeah, these two together sold for, like I said, be careful with this because I don't want them to unpunch. $44.98. Super good. Like I said, a lot of this stuff I listed in the past week. All right, moving along, we have the Portugal tin right here. Another one of these. This is Victoria Guides. Has a little rooster on it. I love these ones. I've been selling like the oil tins. I got a bunch of these with when I went to the estate sale. Got like a full garage full of all these tins. I got really lucky. Got everything for $15. Like I said, super lucky. Last day, last hour, they were okay with moving all the stuff. And it's cool because I found a bunch of homes for these because like I've sold a lot of the tins we got. That was way before we started recording. This sold for $14.40. We had some cooler ones. Then we also had a lot of like generic ones that we had to like go through. So it wasn't just all like unique ones. All right, next up is Advanced Squad Leader. So I wasn't too aware of these. These are going to be the Advanced Squad Leader boards. This is number 53, 54, 55, 53 through 59. Sorry for just sometimes I have like different numbers. It'll be like, oh, I'm missing like 55. So then I would have to like say which ones they are. All right, I'm rambling. These are the paperboard ones, not the cardboard ones. I guess I have like a person or two keeping an eye out on whenever I listed the paperboard ones. I would assume the cardboard ones would be better, but I guess some people just prefer the paperboard ones, or maybe it's harder to get like the villages and the terrain and the paperboard ones. That's why they grab it. Because I noticed I was looking at some of my repeat buyers. Some people have been buying for a couple of years. So it's just really interesting. And I saw this one to repeat buyer. This ended up going for $41.24 for 7 of them. I'm going to keep an eye out for the paperboard ones because those I think have flown off the shelf always. All right, next up, I haven't gotten too many of them. This one's a super cool one. It had a weird story to it. So a couple of, all right. So the first thing is, this is 2 incomplete Helen of Toy Company board games. One of them is called like Supreme Command. They have like very generic names. Another one's like Tank Fight, and then I can't remember what the third one is. So I know my listing says 2, but this ended up being 3 different incomplete games. Well, 2 of these games are from like the 1950s. One I think is this one right here, Supreme Command, 1971. There's a bunch of these military pieces. There's some cardboard tokens with like Axis and Allies symbols. There's some rule books. There's some maps here. They're mostly pretty good. So when I originally got this stuff, it was kind of hard for me to search it up because I knew they weren't complete. So I ended up finding 2 games, but the problem with the pictures of the games is I have 3 games mixed here, and there's gray pieces and silver pieces, but these little tokens, they're the same miniature, and then the silver and gray is just like a couple of hues off. So from the few pictures I saw online of these 2 different games, I couldn't tell which one was going to be silver, which one was going to be gray. So I asked Annetta, she couldn't figure it out. So I was sitting there for like an hour. I normally don't get like stumped on a listing, like what do I do? So I ended up just doing everything together. Because I think the company just probably had like a whatever, they would make it so like, okay, we're going to use jets for this game and then the same jets for another game. So they were probably saving money, right, by not making like unique little miniature shapes for multiple games. But there weren't too many of these listed, and if these games were complete, people were selling them for like 200, 300. Just once you have something rare like that, just whatever someone wants to pay is what the price is at that point. It's hard to get like an exact price. So I ended up listing this for I think $250. We had someone offer $225. We took the offer. They didn't pay for like a full week. I sent them a message. Like that happens. It's not a big deal for us. I completely forgot until after a week. We got the reminder from eBay that we're allowed to cancel the order because we were still waiting for payments. And I just clicked like, oh, buyer didn't pay. And then I just relisted it. This time I took a $150 offer. So a lot less than the first time, which is sad. But I think the first person didn't pay because it was an international sale. So I don't know if they get all the shipping, imports, all the fees, taxes up front. So maybe they purchased it and then realized that with all the extra like add-on shipping and stuff, they were probably like, nah, they didn't want it. And sometimes people just don't respond when I'm like, oh, hey, do you still want it? If not, no big deal. I can just relist it. It really doesn't bother me the lack of payments. Like I don't consider the item paid for until we get the money, we ship it out, everything works out. The post office doesn't lose it. It gets to the person's hands, and 30 days go by. So there's no more returns, nothing. That's like when I consider an item is sold. I know that's not how most people think about it, but that is how I think about it. Because like once it's like 31 days or whatever the amount you can return something, it's not our item anymore. We can't even do the return anymore. But yeah, this sold for $150. But later on, when I was like searching up other stuff, I noticed that these brown pieces go for a third game called the Tank Fights. So this person's probably gonna be happy. They're gonna get the bits and pieces for the 2 games. They're close to complete based off of like the little rule books that are in here. I think there's like maybe one or like a handful of these miniatures that are missing, but because they're just different colors, they can actually interchange them and it should be fine. And then like the Tank Fight game, I think is missing like a rule book or something. But yeah, most of this stuff's pretty good. There's like an old school spinner in there. $150 for that. It's pretty crazy. But like I said, normally I don't get stumped on stuff like that. Like normally I kind of like make a decision. I'm like, okay, this is how I'm gonna list it. I was afraid to list it where I would put the silver pieces with the wrong game and the gray pieces with the wrong game. Someone would get it sent because I won't be able to also take good enough pictures to show the difference of the slight color difference. And I didn't want returns from both of them. That's why I put it together. That was like my reasoning, but it took me a while to get there. All right, moving along. Enough about that. We have, what is this, 1970? Oh, yeah, 1973 Texas brochure right here. It's a official highway travel map. We got a bunch of these travel maps, brochures. We like doing this stuff. We haven't found any in a while. We've done pretty well with this stuff. This was probably like our main bread and butter when we were first starting, first year or so. I still like them. I only like to get them if they're cheap. This ended up selling for, I almost said 150, 15. You can sell paper ephemera for a lot. We sold like the binder of the like the immigrant letters and stuff. So you can sell ephemera for a lot. It's a pretty cool category. All right, next up, you gotta, the more knowledge you have, the better, or the more unique stuff too. We have these Bacchus miniatures. It's a lot of 16. This was weird for me because I got a bunch of the sealed stuff in the clamshells, and then I had a bunch of bits and pieces that I just kept grabbing from that must have fallen out through different holes in the box in the collection and stuff. So I was like, okay, I know these are all Bacchus miniatures, 6mm. And this is the first thing that sold. It always happens to me where I'll sell a bunch of like new stuff or like a lot more complete stuff, and then always I'll list some like bits and pieces, and the bits and pieces go first. I'm like, okay, all right, so these sold for $10. I shouldn't be surprised anymore. That's just how it goes for me. All right, next up is going to be Stratomatic, which is going to be some baseball player cards right here. I think there, how many is there? 18 or 13? It's like either 18 or 13 of these. I don't know too much about this other than I got some of the stuff. I think it's kind of like a league type of sports game where you pick players, you keep track of stuff. But I think this is all manual now. There's a lot of like apps, games, and stuff that can do that these days, like digital games. But yeah, people still get the Stratomatic stuff. I've done pretty well with it. I still don't know too much about it. I'm not a big fan of like sports, but I do pick up the sports board game stuff because we do eventually sell it. We haven't sold anything too crazy, but $13 for this. There you go. That's why I thought 13. I think it's 18 of them sold of different players and stats for $13. All right, next up is going to be a DVD. I have to like read this from the side because it's a weird one. Your voice is a locked room and only I have the key right here. I like to pick up, like, I like to sell the media mail. I like to pick up the special ones, anything that looks different. I haven't seen this before. I think I asked Annette. I don't think she saw this one before. The person was super excited. They want me to put like a little bubble wrapping in there so the disc doesn't pop out. They're just hoping for it to not get damaged. Yeah, this one says Arrow Video. Yeah, super unique. I haven't seen this one. I'm sure there was some listed. I'm just saying for me it was unique. $10, so someone picked it up. So I'm excited. They're excited. Selling movies is a good thing. All right. Next up is going to be a combo order for RPG books. We have this Castles and Crusades, which I don't know like the overarching premise of Castles and Crusades. I've sold this stuff before, but I just want to say it's probably, let me take a look real quick. It's by Troll Lord Games. It's probably going to be using D20 system. It probably uses, I'm assuming, actually it doesn't say D20 system, so it probably has its own rules. So we have Castles and Crusades and Amazing Adventures, Under the Blood, Red Moon. This came from like a free RPG day. They always give out like magazines and stuff for RPG stuff. This one's, I think, an older one, 2016, actually old, even though this doesn't seem old to me. And then Shadows of a Green Sky. I've gotten a bunch of this one before. I find these kind of like a lot, probably because this one's like a free RPG day. So these end up going for $16. Someone's going to have fun playing these, so that makes me happy. All right, so moving along, we have World War II Micro Armor. Where is it? More of these bits and pieces. Probably made like 300 or 400 listings. I'm selling them slowly. I wasn't able to identify which tanks, turrets, like which turrets went to what tanks, which hull bases went to which tanks as well. So I just kind of did whatever, like the miniature, this like going with like, that's what I did. And I've still been selling them. This sold for $8.99. I'll occasionally have someone tell me they'll just say what a tank it is, and then I'll change my listing to add that. And I always think someone, when they do that's really nice. There was someone that wanted to go through all my stuff, but I was like, I have like 300 or 400 listed. If you really want to, you can go for it. But I'm like, I was like, you got to enjoy it if that's something you want to do, because I do have a lot listed. I think they realized it was a lot. All right, moving along. Warriors of God. This is going to be like a magazine war game. There's a lot of magazines that come with these war games. This one's incomplete. It's missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these tokens. It's probably easy. There's a lot of like blank counters. Like we sell blank counters sometimes, so someone can just make their own with a piece of paper as well too. These are kind of like little cardboard tokens, easy to lose. I think most of the rules that are there. If not, rules are probably the easiest thing to find online for like a game that doesn't have the rules. This one was interesting because I listed a box, Avalon Hill Civilization box yesterday, just the empty box, and then I had some bits and pieces inside. It kind of separated the stuff because it was like pretty incomplete, if that makes sense. There was not like no tokens or anything. They wanted that, but it was international. They asked me if I can make shipping lower. I saw what I could do with the weight and dimensions. I had to go at like a pound and a couple ounces with a 1310 box. That was, I literally just took it out because I was like listing it, or had just listed it like 10 minutes ago when they asked me. So I put it on the scale. I put the box. I put some like a void fill paper. And I'm like, no, this has to go at like a pound and 4 ounces. So I let them know that if they do a combo order, that it probably wouldn't add that much more shipping, because usually it's just like the first thing you're shipping is the thing that adds the most to the shipping, if that makes sense. They ended up wanting the box and this Incomplete Warriors of God, but then they still said it was too much money. They apologized for making me make the listing. I'm like, it's really no big deal. It took me like a couple minutes, and I was super excited because I just listed the box too. So then they end up picking up this just because it's gonna be less weight, just like the papers, and then it's gonna be these shit tokens. I didn't list this comic book like backing in the thing, but I'll probably ship it with this. It should be fine. So that sold for $7.50. I know that was a lot of talking, but that was like what happened with that situation. All right, moving along. We have 50% complete World War II partisan in Europe, French, and Balkan miniatures. So there's supposed to be 32 miniatures in this box by Caesar Miniatures. They're run on a 72 scale, which just shows like how big they are. I'm still kind of like picking up and learning that. So I can't do it. I only know because it said on the box. I can't do it on the fly. I always like forget. Also, like the scale for a figure is different than a tank, which is different for like an airplane, which is different. All right, for like a ship, a naval ship. All right, so even though this was half complete, someone still wanted to pick it up. I talked about it before where I don't care that these are incomplete. Someone's going to want it like X number of figures, and 16 was enough to add to their whatever they're playing, either their collection, their painting hobby, or their board game, or their miniature game. But yeah, these end up going for, where was it? $10, which is pretty good for like an incomplete. Like it would have gone for more. It probably would have gone for like, yeah, like 15 to 25 if it was complete. That's how I would have put it. All right, moving along, we have this right here. It's a company called Black Cat Bases. I don't know if they're still around. I got a bunch of this stuff. It's a little base right here, and then this is going to be like a tome or like a evil wizard tome where it's a book, but then there's like a mouth coming out of it, like ready to eat something. So I think you can, what this company was designed for was like you would put this tome on the base and then you put your miniature on top or next to it. Try to make your like miniature kind of pop with some extra aesthetics. This sold for $7.78. I got those a long time ago, so when I pulled that today, I was like, oh, that's a good memory. All right, moving along. I also listed this recently. 80 Mantic Entertainment Games Dead Zone miniature bases. I also did them in my collection video recently. These end up selling for $22.49. Dead Zone, I believe. I've only gotten, like, I have a bunch of the base core book. I have probably like a couple listed, and I have a bunch in like back stock in my inventory. I think it's like a sci-fi type of game. So yeah, I think these are miniature. These are bases for. I think you put like the ships on here, but I'm not 100% sure on this one. But still, so the bases. It had the brand on the back. I took good pictures. I took measurements. All right, $22.49. All right, moving along. This one is a weird one because this is called 42BCCBN for GD40. This is going to be like a little update pack for a war game. As you can see, it has all the little tokens, and then it has this little slip which talks about like the designer, the name of this. So yeah, I think these were just like a little update pack. I just put that as the listing title, the 42 BCCBN for GD40, and it sold to someone for $7.83. Normally it has like a board game name that goes along with it, but someone knew what it was, so I'm glad. All right, next up is going to be a Zombicide. I got a bunch of second edition Zombicide, just stuff, bits, pieces, cards, some miniatures, not too many miniatures, a lot of hero cards. So I got a lot of these weapon cards. So this is like 45. I think these are just epic weapons or regular weapons. And then these are like starting weapons. There's another lot of 8. So they got picked up 3 lots for me. And then these were right here. These are the epic weapons, I think, right here. So yeah, this combo order went for $15 for these. Nothing too crazy. I think 2 of these I was able to relist, the epic weapons and then the base starting weapons. So I had 2 more listings ready to go. I just took pictures there at the storage unit. All right, not last up. We're almost done. We have these 95. These are light blue bead counters. These, you could also use these for fish tanks, but I wrote them down in my title for TCG players because this is why. So normally TCG players like Magic the Gathering, I'll just stick with Magic the Gathering, people use dice nowadays. They use those big cubes of D6 to keep track of just stuff. Like usually like if a creature gets a +2 power or +2 defense, like a +2/2 counter, you would put the 2 on the card and then everyone can see it, so not a big deal. But players used to use these beads. They used to use these beads back in the day. So when people liked Magic the Gathering in the past or a different card game and they get into it now, like in modern times, they usually, they'll buy some starter decks. They might buy a booster box. They might buy some packs. They also they'll buy some sleeves. And then they don't forget that a lot of the creatures and stuff can have counters or stat changes. So they buy the beads instead of the dice. And some people still just prefer the beads as well. So I'm aware of this. It's a weird niche thing that I know. These end up selling for $11.99. I did not list those as aquarium like fillings, even though people could use them for. I listed them as TCG bead counters, and I put them under like other TCG items. So yeah, I don't know if they're going to use them for cards, but that was my like logic when I went through that. All right, next up we have this set right here. Jet Force 12, some die-cast metal planes. It was like semi-sealed where like the tape was ripping off right there. The jets are in pretty good quality for whatever brand this is, summer brand. This is probably like in like a gift shop or something, kind of tell, maybe in like a village or something. So this one, a person paid a lot for this because it was 14 for this, but it's going overseas. So yeah, that's exciting. It's a pretty cool one. I was sitting there in a storage unit. I'm like, I know where that came from, but I couldn't remember. And then finally, last second, pulled it out. This was from a yard sale last minute. We got like a doll bed that we sold. I think we got some Legos, or at least like some Lego instruction booklets. We got this. Oh, we got this creepy clown painting. Oh, I have it in another round. I'll show that another time. Sorry guys, I'm running short on time. That was cool because I remember the creepy clown painting. I was like, in my head. Actually no, it wasn't in my head. I told Annetta because she wanted it. I'm like, I'm only getting that if it's $2 or less. The person of the sale did not hear me. We went back to the car, and then she's like, okay, go check. And then I was like, oh, how much is the clown like painting? And they're like, oh, $2, and it's yours. And I was like, I guess I have to eat my words now. All right, it's pretty creepy. It's a unique one. All right, moving along. We could probably list it at one point. Last actual item for the day, Pendraken. We got a bunch of these metal miniatures. I think these are 10 millimeter. These are British infantry. There's even like their website here, which is from the UK. I don't know if they're still around. Got a ton of these a long time ago before filming. So yeah, this is like, I only have a couple packs left. It was weird to go and grab this pack today because I think I only have like 4 or 5 listings. And I remember I spent like a day a couple years ago where I just listed like 60 or 80 of these. And then I can list a lot of the same thing over and over again, which is fine. But when it's like the miniatures and I'm like, my eyes are just staring at them the whole day for like 8-10 hours, and my eyes just start to like, feel like they're bleeding, basically. Not really bleeding, but that's how it feels like. All right. So this one for $9, just also another good memory. All right, that's everything. We have a lot to pack up. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to help support us, purchase something from our shop down below. Have a good one.